Fandom, how's it going? Today we are reviewing Jupiter's Legacy Volume 1, and I am super excited about this one. Jupiter's Legacy is written by Mark Millar with art by Frank Quitely, and Mark Millar is a guy who's been kind of a polarizing figure in the industry, namely because he tends to go way over the top with his comic books. He's a really great idea guy, but his execution is not always the best, as we saw in his terrible series Nemesis, which I don't think anybody should be reading that. That was really bad. But over the past few months and the past few years, it seems like Millar disappeared off the comic book scene because he went to do movies and stuff like that. And he kind of did a ninja/samurai thing where he went into the wilderness and he studied with the masters and then came back, and now he's been just killing it on a lot of stuff that he's been putting out. Jupiter's Legacy to me is probably the best thing the guy has written in like the past 5 years. It is fantastic. And the art here is done by Frank Quitely, and Frank Quitely is just a man that is a master of the craft. He's done things like All-Star Superman. He's done All New X-Men with Grant Morrison. He's really famous actually for working with Grant Morrison in a lot of books, and he also did that Pax Romana issue of Multiversity. If you did not read it, it's kind of Grant Morrison's take on the Watchmen. Go pick that up. Just pick up that issue. It is just mind-blowing. But we're here to talk about Jupiter's Legacy, so let's get into what the story is about this. The concept of the book basically follows the idea of what would happen if these superheroes that got their powers in 1932 became basically these super powerful, super perfect beings, and how would their children try to live up to those expectations and live up to that legacy, hence why you get the name Jupiter's Legacy. One of the superheroes is called the Utopian. He's kind of the main star of the first half of this book, and you follow his kids around, Chloe and Brandon. The Utopian is basically an analogy for Superman, and his wife is basically an analogy for Wonder Woman. And what's interesting is that you see what would happen to their kids if they grew up trying to live up to the expectations of being these perfect beings. And really what ended up happening is it just pushed Chloe and Brandon away. And Chloe ends up becoming kind of this druggie. She overdoses in the first few panels of the story, and Brandon basically becomes this guy who really wants power, but he's just too lazy to really take it. He really wants the cheap way out, and you see how that all plays out in the story in a really shocking and ultimately climactic moment. The Utopian in this story also has a brother named Wilbur, and Wilbur kind of has these really cool psychokinetic abilities where he gets inside your head and he shows you a vision, and you think everything is going all right, but then outside of your head in your physical body you are getting the living crap kicked out of you. And it's basically how they beat a lot of the villains in this series. The thing is with Wilbur is that throughout the series he's also kind of starting to become corrupted. He's becoming more power hungry, and he actually meets with President Barack Obama in this story, and he goes, look, this is my 5-stage plan of how we can make the world perfect. You do see the fallout of that in the second half of this story where it flashes forward to 2020, and let's just say things don't end up very well. I think what's really interesting about this story is that you see Chloe and Brandon grow up, and what they end up becoming is completely different from where you think they're going to end up at the beginning of this story, especially Chloe. Chloe ends up becoming this mom, and her son in the second half of this story, he's basically Superman as a kid, where she's telling him, look, we're kind of on the run from the government right now. You kind of have to play like you're not necessarily a superhero. You kind of have to trip and fall. If you're playing soccer, you can't really score goals. If you're in school, you can't be this perfect student, because if you do, it'll kind of flare up in the government's eyes and the government will come after us. Mark Millar has said that he got the concept for this story from following the recession that happened a few years ago here in the United States, and he thought, well, that would be an interesting concept to see what would happen if superheroes were in our world. And they decided, you know what, let's try to take a crack at politics and let's see if we can actually run this world better than the government that we have right now. Let's talk about the art for a minute in here, and Frank Quitely is the artist on this bad boy, and Frank Quitely kills every single panel on this. I absolutely adore this book and the art inside of it. I'm a huge fan of Frank Quitely's stuff ever since I read All-Star Superman, and he draws the superheroes in this wonderful. He draws the action scenes in this wonderful. There is a panel in here that is a page turn that he plays with Wilbur's abilities, that once you turn the page and you find out what is actually going on, left me going, oh my gosh, that is brutal. If you are a monthly issue kind of guy, this is not a book for you. It took Frank Quitely about 2 years to pump out 5 issues, and that's because the guy is so meticulous and so perfect on every panel that he draws that if you are reading this monthly, you are probably going to be really pissed off because it's going to take a long time to finish this. So with that said, it's worth it though. It really is worth the wait. I think that once you flash forward to the year 2020 and you see Wilbur's perfect utopia and how everything falls out, and you see the panels and how detailed they are, you go, okay, I can kind of see where this took 2 years to create because everything is so meticulous and so well done. I read a lot of comics, as some of you know from following my Facebook and Twitter feed, and every once in a while I get kind of a burned out feeling. However, there is a comic every once in a while that comes out and makes me go, wow, this is really why I read comics. This just reinvigorated me into the genre, made me want to read even more comics, and Jupiter's Legacy is definitely that book. I'm praising this to the high heavens. It's going on sale right now for $7. This is the first volume of this. This is part of the Image $10 plan where the first trade is like $10. Go pick this up. Really, go pick this up if you are looking for something different, if you are looking for something interesting, and if you are looking for kind of a breakdown of the genre. I am telling you right now, I love this book. I cannot wait for them to finish this and put out an omnibus or a hardcover edition of this. Go pick this up. Pick this up. Support this type of material. I give this my full reigning endorsement. I cannot praise this enough, really. If this is your first time checking out my channel, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to put those links down below in the description. You guys are awesome as always. I'd love to hear back from you. And if you read Jupiter's Legacy, what did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you a fan of Mark Millar? Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear back from you. You guys are awesome as always. Bye.